So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my apple sauteing here. And I've got some butter that I'm just going to get into my skillet, about 3 to 4 tablespoons of butter. And I'm going to use the Granny Smith apples for this. But any kind of great apple that you're going to go out and pick is going to be wonderful in this recipe. So if you're taking the family out, and I strongly encourage you to do that. That's something that we started doing when Riley was little. And it's so much fun to do. Get outside and kind of smell the smells and eat a bunch of apples as you pick. And then you got to get a caramel apple. Check out the little market before you go. Some hot apple cider. It's just a fun thing to do. I know the weather's been so nice. You probably haven't thought about apple picking yet, but I'm told that it's almost time. So, all right, look at that butter melting. Now the key to roasting pork tenderloin, is I like to roast it at a nice high heat. So preheat that oven to about 425 degrees. This recipe calls for about 4 sliced apples, and you can actually do red and green apples. I think that would actually be pretty in this. So, you can mix whatever apples. In fact, whenever I talk to the people who are known for making really great apple pies, I always say, what kind of apples do you use to make your apple pie? And they always say a mix of the apples. So feel free to mix it up. The recipe says you need to peel the apples. You know what? I think it's fine if you leave the peel on. I like that little bit of texture, so it's totally up to you. While I'm waiting for this butter to melt, it's taking its good old time. Slow going on this Monday morning. A couple of things I wanted to talk to you about. First of all, we've picked our Living with Amy book club book for the fall. So fall's the perfect time to go out and get a new book and curl up by the fire, or actually sit outside. We've been sitting outside on my deck. Throw a sweatshirt on and sit outside and do some reading. And this is a great book. I've been dying to read this book. I've heard nothing but wonderful things. It's really meaty. You can really sink your teeth into it. And I understand it's just a great book as far as, discussing it when it's all done, which is really fun to do. It's called The Book Thief, and it's by Marcus Zusak. The Book Thief by Marcus Zusak. This book's been out for a little bit, but gets rave reviews. So go pick it up, read along with us, and email me your thoughts about the book, and we'll have our book club meeting in late October, so you've got plenty of time, a full month to get out there and read it. And I understand there's actually a young adult version of this book as well, so I think Ireland and I might read this together. She may read the young adult version and I'll read the grown-up version, so that would be a fun thing to do with the kids. All right, I've got my apples in my butter sauteing, and now I'm going to start seasoning up my roast pork tenderloin. But one thing I want to do, another thing when it comes to making really juicy, moist pork tenderloin is, again, crank up that heat and roast it in a high heated oven, 425 degrees, and then when it's done, pull it out and we're going to let it rest. So I'm going to pull this out, and before I slice into it, I'm going to let it rest. So I'm just going to set it right here and let it cool for a little bit. And that's the key to not having, we've all had that pork that's just been really dry. So that's the key, let it rest. Hey, does our kitchen set look fabulous or what? Some little elves came in over the weekend and decked it all out for fall, and I'm super excited. The ladies from the No Worries Home Boutique in Appleton, we've done a lot of segments. It's a great store, great accessories for your home, from glasses to dinnerware, all sorts of stuff, and it just looks fabulous. Can they come to my house? Kind of wave their wand and make it all fall? Okay, apples are sauteing, doing your thing. I actually am going to add a little bit of cinnamon and apples. Go, of course, great together. Okay, if you could smell this right now, it just smells like fall. Butter, apples, and cinnamon, this doesn't get much better than that. All right, back to the pork tenderloin. I love pork tenderloin. It is my favorite type of pork. It's easy. It's very lean, very affordable. If you're having people over for a fall dinner party, it's something different to serve rather than chicken or beef. It's very affordable. So you know, we're going to do 2 for this recipe, but you can certainly double, triple this recipe, and we're going to make a great sauce to go on top of it. And the sauce starts with some Dijon mustard. Then we're going to sweeten that sauce with a little bit of real Wisconsin maple syrup. This is the good stuff. And we're also going to throw some syrup into those apples to sweeten those up. Thank you, Ann. We're going to do some salt and pepper. Some nice black pepper. Kosher salt. I'm going to whisk that together. So basically, it was mustard, maple syrup, salt and pepper, and the last thing we're going to add is some rosemary. And I'm just got some fresh rosemary here, which is again very fall-like herb, really strong and wonderful. Just going to give it a rough chop. Just smells fabulous. We'll do that on top of my pork too. Okay. Just want to give these apples a stir. At this point, they're starting to soften up. I'm going to add some maple syrup, some more of that wonderful Wisconsin maple syrup, just to make them even sweeter. And just to make them a little bit savory and create a nice sauce for this pork, a little bit of chicken broth. And I'll keep that right there in case we need to add a little more of that chicken broth. You know, Mom used to always serve pork chops with applesauce. I think that was from a Brady Bunch episode or something. And I might even add a little bit of salt to those apples, maybe a little more broth. And the idea was with the applesauce and the pork chops is something to moisten up those dried, sometimes can be dry, pork chops. So I am a big fan of serving some sort of a sauce with pork, just in case it is dry. So that's why these apples go wonderfully with this pork. So you can just either brush this on or just kind of drizzle this maple mustard glaze on top. Get that all out of there. Thank you, Ann. And then I'm going to take my rosemary. Now I sprayed the pan, or you can drizzle it with olive oil. It's totally up to you. Just want to make sure that's not going to stick. And at this point, these beautiful tenderloins go into my preheated 425-degree oven for about 20 to 25 minutes. You want to use a meat thermometer when you're cooking with pork. Really, really important to do that. And you want to make sure it reaches about 160 degrees. So we've got our pork tenderloin right here, just out of the oven. We let it rest before we slice into it, and I'm going to put it on the cutting board here. Apples are looking just wonderful. And we're just going to slice this kind of on the angle. This would be fabulous to complete this meal. A nice salad with maybe some apples in it to tie the whole thing together. Some great wild rice. I'm going to keep those tongs there, Ann, if I could. And I'm just going to kind of slice this pork on the angle. Makes a real pretty presentation. A little hot right now. And we'll serve that with the apples, and it is going to be just delicious. I'll show you how it looks when we come back. I promise it's going to be beautiful. The recipe, by the way, is on our website. You can also pick it up at any Festival Foods. And coming up